won't be able to see you at this moment. Can you see that picture?
I can see it, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to tell you about Herowork. I want to quickly tell you where I came from, a little bit more about what it is that we do and how it is that we do it, and how we are developing our own social enterprise to really embark on a big mission. Herowork started really on a whim, because I had a friend with multiple sclerosis who needed some help. And I thought, you know, I might be able to get 20 friends together and help my friend. She needed a renovation because of her mobility challenges. And making a long story short, I thought, well, wonder what if I could do like a mini extreme makeover. That would be kind of cool. I put this plan together and showed it to a friend. She thought, wow, this is cool. I want to be involved. 6 days later, we were a team of 7 people. 7 weeks later, we had 27 businesses, 65 volunteers, 10 rotating musical acts, did a $25,000 renovation in a single day with a budget of $380. And that really changed my life and sent me down this path that has now become a Herowork, where we've completed millions of dollars worth of renovations for charities in Victoria. And so we're a charity that renovates other charities and transforms their building, their surrounds, their spaces, so that they can more efficiently and more innovation in an innovative way fulfill their mandate. As I've gone down this road, not actually being a contractor in the construction industry when I first started, I come from an artist background and from the hospitality business. I started to find out very quickly that a lot of charities and many church buildings are really run down. They're in need of repairs and upgrades. Often these buildings have not been designed for the purposes of which they're being used for. So many people who dedicate their lives to making a difference in our community are working in substandard conditions, poorly designed, often ugly buildings that don't make people feel good. When their clients or the volunteers come in, they're just making do. And I've seen some fairly dire conditions and unsafe conditions in various charity buildings over time. In fact, we've done studies here in Victoria, in the Victoria area, and found out that nearly 60% of charity buildings are over 50 years old. 38% of charities either urgently or very urgently need a renovation. 50% of charities say that a renovation would increase their capacity to make a difference in the community. So we see this need is a deep need here in Victoria, and we believe in many other towns and cities across the country. So how do we do this? First, we go through a long process where we discern and work with worthy charities. We, in fact, start this process way in advance. I'm now looking at projects in 2022. We're booked for the next couple of years. And the reason for that is that we really need to learn what they're all about and what their vision is. Where do they want to be in 10 years from now? And then we work with them and various stakeholders across our city to design a building that suits where they're looking to go, whether that's an innovative new way of doing business, or they're looking at expanding their program or doing different programming or bringing different type of stakeholders. We go through this lengthy consultation process to be able to make sure that the build that we complete has that long-term sustainability piece. And so once all those plans are in place, we mobilize community, and we mobilize community in a really big way. These are not small renovation events. In a typical build, which typically is somewhere between $400,000 to $700,000. We don't do small builds. We only do sizable builds. We'll typically have anywhere from 300 to 500 volunteers, many of these professionals, trades, sub-trades, but many general volunteers of all kinds. We'll have up to 100 businesses involved. Those can be suppliers, they could be contractors, hospitality companies, restaurants, hotels, corporations, all sorts of companies coming together to make these radical renovation events happen. So a radical renovation is essentially a large renovation that's condensed into an event. So we'll do, let's say, a 6-month renovation in a 6-week time period. Our average in terms of producing these events is about $100,000 of renovations per week. Although our model has shifted this year because of COVID, and we've lengthened out the housing project that we're doing right now for at-risk single moms and their children. Typically, we'll have anywhere from 40 to, in some cases, 125 people working on site simultaneously with different colored t-shirts for roles, different colored name tags for strength levels, everybody knowing what it is that they're doing, working with common vision, common purpose. And the experience of community, the experience of love is just unbelievable. And the change that you see from beginning to end of a single day and then the event is transformative, and the experience we give them has this level of coolness to it. We bring in often live music during meal services. Hotels and restaurants cater the food for all the volunteers. We break bread together. So there's all these elements that is really about community building. Just a couple of examples of some innovative projects that we've done. Local food bank here in Victoria, the Mustard Seed, they had this idea of changing their hamper program, where a volunteer in the back warehouse packs a box and hands it out, into a grocery store style experience where people could come in with their family and grab a shopping cart and actually choose the food that was best for them and their family. Another example would be a youth detention facility here in URL, which is a suburb of Victoria, where we turned it into a home for homeless men who were suffering addiction and rehabilitating out of incarceration. And a good portion of this population was Indigenous, so there was an Indigenous theme to much of the build. We've also done here in Victoria, the United Church of Esquimalt. Their entire community wing was completely transformed into now a hub of about 20 community groups. And so over the years, and when I started this about 10 years ago, we've been a charity for since 2015, a nonprofit since 2014, and some builds I did as just a private citizen before that. The impact in the landscape in which charities are impacting our community has really started to shift in this city. We've transformed, we've done 12 major charity builds here, and so you can start to go in all sorts of areas of our city, and the neighborhood has changed because the surrounds of the building have been adjusted aesthetically and functionally. The charities are more sustainable because they're paying less utilities and they're having more buy-in from their neighbors and their volunteers. But most importantly is it's just the people that are being served are both emotionally and psychologically, but the experience they go through has changed. An example of this would be our past build this fall, where we did Peers, an organization that serves people in the sex industry, and the psychological shift to the people who come there, they just can't believe that community came together to put a building together for them and for their mandate. So when we look at this impact, we think this is something that really needs to be in more towns and cities across the country. And so we spent the last few years building and getting ready for our expansion of what it is that we do, so that we want to be able to create opportunities for other groups and for an expansion of our program into other towns, and cities across the country. And so some of the benefits that this enterprise affords is that deep social change that can occur across the spectrum of charities, from food banks to counseling centers to housing, all sorts of different charities. This picture here is from a charity that gives experiences out in nature to people who are disadvantaged. And so across the charity spectrum, we get to know all of these charities. We get to bring all of them together and transform how they do what they do for the vulnerable populations. The volunteers that come together are more inspired about what's actually possible in the community when we come together with a common vision and common purpose. And the business buy-in that our program achieves is astounding. And so again, that's creating that stronger sense of community buy-in, community participation. The ecological change that the program creates is that lower environmental footprint because of better windows and remediation that happens, and better systems, less utilities, so it's more financially viable for the organization that embarks on the renovation. And then we have that spiritual connection of simply the people coming together and looking to make a substantive change. That sense of connection, that sense of we're all in this together at our events and at the ramp up of our events is very deep and very inspiring. Our model has a healthy earned revenue piece to it. So after its startup phase, it pays for itself, so it's self-sustaining in that way. And as we've been working over the last months and years with Edge and Carla, we're looking to potentially partner with some congregations or cohorts of congregations to start up this type of social enterprise with us, and leveraging existing assets from storage and office space of different churches to the networks of people, the leaders in these cohorts of congregations, but also to be renewing some of the community elements of United Churches, like the one that we did in Esquimalt, or when we did a 4,000-foot dock at Shawnigan Lake for a United Church organization a couple of years back as well. So as we've been building this social enterprise, we've been building, a toolbox of strategies, a toolbox of IT systems, from websites to branding to contact management and customer management software. We've been building our operational procedures and the HR procedures, the adjudication procedures around how these projects are chosen in a way that creates that sustainable change. And moving forward, we'll be working very closely with any partner that we bring on, and we're only looking for one or two over the next couple of years, to lead them step by step through the process, having tutorials that they can refer to, video tutorials they can refer to in the months and years ahead. Also, leadership development. We have this program of the art of community mobilization. How, in fact, do you strategically and tactically mobilize in community to rise again and again behind these different projects, and a whole whack of different templates. And so that's a little bit about Herowork, what we do, how we do it, and where it is that we're looking to go in the future. Do I